Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the History Fellow channel. Just to wish you all really a very happy new year. Let's hope 2022 is much better than 2021. I hope you've all had a good Christmas and some period of time off, and you've all managed to avoid things like COVID or being ill or something like that. But I hope you've had a good couple of weeks during the festive season, and things are starting to pick up and go well for you. But anyway, I thought I'd do a tag video because I've been tagged by Bill Rutenberg. It's the end of the year book tag, so thanks very much to Bill. I'll put a link to his channel down below this video, so please by all means pop along, see his channel, have a look at some of his videos. He's certainly very good, and he really likes his history books as well. So anyway, let's get started. This is, like I said, the end of the year book tag, and I've got all the questions written on my screen. Number 1, how did you feel about this reading year? I think I've read more books this year than I've read previously, if we look at it year by year. But I've really enjoyed this year's reading because I've done lots of reading on history and kind of expanded from the usual. I've kind of, rather than just being a World War II reader, I've expanded into like World War I and going back to more American West and US Civil War. I've really enjoyed those two particular subjects. And also I've been doing some reading on Victorian Britain, royals throughout British history. I've even been getting into things like ancient history in the Greeks than the Romans. I've recently read a couple of those books covering that subject and trying to expand my knowledge really on history. And it's been really insightful and quite interesting, so I've really enjoyed that. So this year's been quite a varied year rather than just concentrating on one particular area. I've tried to expand, and also I'm getting quite into modern history, sort of from World War II to present day in Britain. I'm getting really interested in modern history, what today's politics, or in recent decades, how that's affecting today and what we can look back and see from that. But anyway, number 2, what are 2 phases or authors you went through this year? I've been reading lots of different authors really. I haven't really specialised on one. I have read about 2 or 3 books by Tim Heath, who writes on World War II, but he writes mainly about Germany, and this year he's written, I think it's a couple of books on the Japanese soldiers, which have been really good. I really like his writing. He's really informative, and I kind of like how he writes from the everyday person sort of viewpoint. And the other one I like, who's my regular, is I've got a couple of books from him. Stephen Wynne, who writes for Pen and Sword, does a wide variety of subjects, but mainly World War II. But I read a book by him on fighter pilots in World War I, I think it was, and it was really good and quite opened up that particular subject for me, and I really did enjoy his writing. His writing's kind of concise but to the point. It doesn't go into seriously great detail, but he gives you enough, and he's a good read. So I quite like a number of his books, and I think I've already read probably 4 or 5 of his books. Number 3. What is the book you regret not reading? I often get sent lists by publishers saying, do you want to read these books, and pick out which ones you want to read, and they'll send them to me. I can't think of any specific titles, but it's kind of a case of they send you a list, and then about 2 weeks later they arrive, and just some of them you think, I'm not really into that at the moment, or something like that. But I usually find in a couple of weeks I've had that idea in my head that there's a book coming out on this particular subject, and unfortunately I've already turned it down, and then it comes out and I hear other reviewers saying how really good it is, and I think, I should have read that one, or asked to read that one, and kind of regret that. That's only been about 2 or 3 times. Sometimes it's usually books on the American Civil War, where you have to get the books directly from America, and sometimes it's hard to get books from America sent over to the UK because of all the postal costs and Brexit and what have you. So sometimes I miss out on American Civil War books, unfortunately. Number 4, what is something you learned from reading this year? Actually, the one that sticks in my mind was a book it was on spigot weapons in World War II, and how you can use them on tanks, and it was written by David Lister and published by Pen & Sword Books. Now, it's a really unusual kind of sideways subject, because these weapons were used on tanks, but they were handheld, and some of them look a bit bizarre. But I kind of read the book and really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of up on spigot weapons now. But it was a subject I kind of denied about reading, but decided to give it a read and take the plunge. And it was a really good book, really interesting, and it's available for about £15, and you can find that on the Pen & Sword website. But it's a really, really good and interesting read. I would definitely recommend that. So that's one specific book I learnt quite a bit from this year. What is a book you wish you talked more about? That's question 5. Actually, there's one, I haven't done a video review for it yet, and that's one called Boy Soldiers of the Great War. I think written by Richard Van Emden, and it's a nice thick chunky book that retells stories from young soldiers during the Great War, and it's a really good read and a riveting read, and it kind of gets you hooked all the way through and listening to all these stories. And it's really well written, and I haven't done a video review, so I might actually do maybe 1 or 2 books on that. So that's Boy Soldiers of the Great War by Richard Van Emden. I apologise if I got that wrong, but it's published by Pen & Sword Books, and it's about £25. It's a nice chunky read, and it's really good. What is a non-bookish highlight? I've recently been watching World War II films on Netflix and various other platforms, but because I'm going to be doing some video reviews or film reviews in the very near future, so I've been genning up on films and that, and kind of really enjoyed them. So that's probably a non-book highlight, in that I've been trying to get into more World War II films that you get on the telly, and doing some reviews about that, but that's been interesting. And it's a little bit different from having to read a book. What is the greatest outlier in your books? Now I had to look up this word meaning. Outlier means a person or thing situated away from or detached from the main body or system. So I had a think about that, and I've gone with something other than just a general World War II type book. I'm going to pick a World War One or Great War film that I've recently watched. Can't remember the title, but I'll be doing a video review of it later this week, hopefully. It's called something down below, and it looks at British World War One miners that would they'd start off in the trenches, and they'd tunnel their way towards the German trenches in France, and obviously they would try and get as near as possible to the German trenches, and then they'd pack the end of the tunnel with explosives and eventually set off the explosives in order to try and destroy machinery or kill as many men as possible. So that's kind of something I haven't really discovered before, kind of only heard about it in various books, but I watched the film and really enjoyed the film. So that particular subject is kind of an offspring of military history, so that's kind of what I've gone with for that question. Number 8. What book are you most excited to revisit? I don't really often do much rereading of books, mainly because I don't really have the time, and I've got a TBR list as long as a really long thing. So I don't tend to do much rereading. If anything, it's usually US Civil War books about a particular battle. If I've enjoyed reading about that battle, I'll happily read various other books about it just to keep enjoying the subject. But I can't think of one specific book at the moment that I'm going to reread. Number 9. What video are you most proud of? Obviously the video that gets the most likes, subscribers and interaction, really. I quite like the videos where I get plenty of comments and people's opinions. They're always interesting. And what is your favourite last line of a book? I don't think non-fiction books don't tend to have obvious last line finishes to books that you can kind of hang your hat on. So that kind of doesn't really apply to my reading subjects. And then finally, the last question is number 11. Is there a creator or video you'd like to shout out or tag? I'll happily tag anyone that I follow or have regular correspondence with. I'd open up this to anyone. If you fancy doing this particular tag, then you're more than welcome to try your best, and let's hear what you have to say. So anyway, that's the end of the questions. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any comments, please leave them down below, and if you haven't subscribed already, then please do. And you can also also subscribe to me at buymeacoffee.com, and that helps build the channel and gets me doing different videos and hopefully better videos. And there's also a number of freebies and special offers that I chuck out for anyone who's following. So thank you very much for watching. I shall see you in the next video, probably in the next few days, and I'll see you then. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.